Interest groups hold the key. These CEOs and lobbyists get what they need. Exchanging greed for the policies and scheme for their monopolies. Well, you and me believe that we the people own the property, not properly. Our freedom is in poverty, the eminent domain in the veins of our democracy. The block ain't free, a lot who need, but not a lot who eat or sleep. The we in pieces, heated streets, and these police divide us like apostrophes. I'm speaking on the shit they killed Pac for. He exposed Illuminati, then he got for. But nowadays, they got the mainstream flooded. All these rappers drowning drugs, but they still ain't got no substance.
Whoever sees this, hit subscribe right now. Get a free rule. Shaq's toilet not included. What's going on, YouTube? It's Noxo, and we're back with our reaction series. So today, man, it is Mother's Day, Thursday, one of the greatest days on planet Earth, because we are back with none other than Eminem. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, you guys know that we've been dealing with the Eminem first game diss and situation. And I thought, you know what? There's a track and a diss track from Eminem I want to dive back into. I want to do a full analysis on, because there's a lot of similarities with the Black Slim Shady and the concept of inserting yourself into someone else's perspective, trying a different cadence, trying a different opinion. So you know what? We're going to see how Eminem does it. We're going to compare. It's none other than Bully. But before getting further, I'm going to give a quick shout out to the song in the intro. You guys like that? That drops tomorrow. Huge release coming to the channel, guys. I'm very excited about it. If you want to pre-save it, listen, I will put the links to that below right now. Also, shout out to the Patreon family, exclusive reactions and content on there. Again, if you want to support, all links down there. But anyways, you know what we're here for. Eminem, step back up to the plate. See what you got.
Check it out. It's fucked up, 'cause I don't see either one of us watching.
I'm withholding my anger, though I'd like to be the strangler of this punk-ass little pussy's puny neck. It's my right to insist that he acknowledge my existence, but he just displays complete lack of respect.
All right, first and foremost, the production, man. I love how the strings just build. And they feel so dramatic, but the thing is, nothing else drops in. It's only the strings that guide us at first. So it's kind of a misdirection in a sense, because you don't know where we're really going to go with the true vibe of the song. And then all of a sudden that percussion kicks in, and then the keys start to hit, and the melody starts to carry. And you're like, oh, okay, all right, this is a bit pacier than I thought it was going to be. And then all of a sudden, Eminem just drops in with a totally different type of cadence, this sing-songy melody, and this very unique rhythm and flow pocket that he's found. And it's very clever how he sets up the rhyme writing, because this rhyme writing is something he's going to carry throughout this track. He's going to carry through the verses. And basically what he does is he's got two internal schemes, right? He's got an A rhyme scheme, and then an external scheme. So like anger, strangler, neck. A, those two words rhyme, and then B. And then he's going to do it again, right? He's going to have internal rhymes, A to A. He's going to line those up so they sound the same. And then the external rhyme, lack of respect. Respect rhymes with neck. He's got the B schemes. And he'll keep doing this and keep doing this. And then sometimes he'll build and he'll have complex multi-syllable schemes as the internal A rhymes. And he might even build it even further on the external schemes. Just very clever melody and rhyme writing. All right, we'll let it play a little bit more, and then we're going to talk about the game theory on this one.
He acknowledged my existence, but he just displays complete lack of respect. That's what he says to himself as he uses magazines to trash me, as he sits with both his feet up at his desk. Smokes a bag of his weed and starts imagining things, and he just can't see that he's manically depressed.
Bag of his weed, starts imagining things, and then see what I mean about a more complex internal scheme, and then he's got the external scheme. And think about diss tracks, right? And one of the reasons that this stands out to me from Eminem's catalog of diss tracks is the creativity behind this one. And it's something that's very memorable, because instead of just like coming in like punchline, bar, diss, go after someone, Eminem has sat back and made a memorable song. You know, he's made something catchier, and he sat here, and for me, it's trolling Benzino, who was the target of this diss and this first verse even further, because it's almost like he could care less the way that he does it. But what's also interesting is as he's talking here, and as he starts to continue on, he's putting himself in the first person perspective and in the mind of Benzino. Now, this is something that Game essentially tried to do with the Black Slim Shady. Game was trying to portray the mind of Shady, and he mimicked Shady and had very unique, different flows for what we expect from Game. So this is a great sort of comparison, a metric to compare it to, because Eminem has a very unique flow on this. Very different sort of perspective from Eminem than what we normally get. But remember what we talked about? There's concept and there's execution. In Game's case, a lot of people just spat it back because like, well, he's just trying to mimic M and he doesn't sound like M. And we all know M's a good rapper. Like, you can't take away from M. And M's not a good MC. Everybody who knows anything about rhyme writing, about technicals, about rap, you have to acknowledge that M is a dope MC. You may not like his music. You may not enjoy it. You may like older M better than newer M. But you still can't take away the fact that his pen game is very, very good. So in this case, what M's doing, though, comes across differently. Because even though he's doing a different cadence, he's not trying to mimic Benzino. He's not, like, doing something that a lot of people are taking as, oh, this is not working. Like, this is a gimmick that's not connecting. For us, it is connecting because in a way, even though he's in Benzino's mind, like Game trying to be in M's mind, in first-person perspective, he's still being Eminem. And he's still giving off himself. Whereas it felt like Game was just trying to mimic and copy. See the differences and see the comparisons as well?
Starts imagining things and he just can't see that he's manically depressed. And in his jealousy and envy, it just whirls him in a frenzy as he turns on MTV and sees my face. He don't exist in this world, so he just twists and he twirls, spirals and spins till he hurls himself into rage. And it's this.
And then the lines, uses magazines to trash me. And let's talk about the history of Benzino versus Eminem. This all started because originally the Source gave Marshall Mathers LP a very low rating. And you have to remember, this is a different time frame, right? The Source at this time was like a Bible for hip hop. The Source broke through a lot of artists. It was what people turned to before they started turning to social media to learn about artists, to find new artists, to see what critics were saying, what reviews were like. The Source, Double XL, very integral magazines to the culture. And Eminem didn't like the rating that Marshall Mathers LP got. And a lot of fans didn't like the rating that the LP got. It got a 2 out of 5 mics at first. And then there was such backlash that they had to change it to 4 out of 5 mics, right? Then Eminem drops the Eminem Show. And that only got 4 out of 5 mics. And Eminem's smashing records at this point in time. And Eminem's like, man, there's a lot of other projects I see getting 5 out of 5 mics during this time. And I put out some of my best shit that Eddie will argue is his most classic shit. Marshall Mathers LP, come on. 5 out of 5 mics. Yeah. Or Eminem Show. Anyways, going on about that, right? So Benzino flies down to PR to go visit Eminem. Eminem's playing a show down in Puerto Rico. Obi Trice is there. Benzino talks to Obi. But M doesn't want to talk to Benzino. And M just snubs him. So what's Benzino do? Benzino takes offense. And then it just starts to spiral from there. But it's not Eminem who carries this further. It's Benzino who then takes this situation and then this instance and starts to go, you know what? Fuck Eminem. And he starts trashing him in interviews. Hot 97 starts talking about him. Then he drops Pull Your Skirt Up, starts dropping the Eminem freestyle, starts dissing Eminem left and right. Until eventually it spirals and spirals. Then we all know about the Ja Rule and 50 Cent beef. And we covered that very well on this channel. Ja Rule then lined up with Benzino. So at this time, you got Murder Inc. and you got Benzino going against Eminem, 50, G-Unit, that whole crew. So the lines have been drawn in this case. And the sides are shooting back and forth. And Eminem is responding to a lot of this with, this is the mainly Benzino directed diss, but we get to Ja Rule too.
Twists and he twirls, spirals and spins till he hurls himself into rage. And it's destroying him slowly, cause he does not even know me, even though he sees me everywhere he goes. So he just tortures himself, he has no fortune and wealth, so he extorts someone else to get his dough.
Right. Everywhere he goes, so he tortures himself, he has no fortune and wealth. He extorts someone else to get his dough. See what he did there? He carried that A, multi-syllable rhyme scheme 3 times and then punched in that N rhyme, that B rhyme. And I always appreciate the storytelling of M because he can tell these stories and narrate while still never losing these complex rhyme schemes. And especially in this case, he's got a very, very specific song structure. This is up there with The Way I Am in terms of how this flow is written and how he carries this flow throughout. In Games This, we talked about how he couldn't carry rhyme schemes and he would have to switch out of them a lot when he tried to condense them. Eminem is staying with the exact same song structure throughout the disses, throughout the storytelling. So not only is he narrating, not only is he speaking from a first-person perspective a lot of times, putting himself in the mind of his enemy, he's also dissing the shit out of him and making a song.
Himself, he has no fortune and wealth, so he extorts someone else to get his dough. And now he's acting like a bully, so he tries to push and pull me, but he knows that he can't fool me, so he's mad. He has no choice but to scream and raise his voice up at me, cause it annoys him to see that I ain't scared. You ain't no more.
And then a lot of accusations of Benzino, you know, extorting his way with Maze at the source and, you know, forcing Maze to lock himself in his room, and Benzino just basically gave himself a job at the source. And yeah, there's been a lot of looking into that, a lot of talk of how Benzino, in the way that he carries himself, in the way that he just inserts himself into things, and it's not really Benzino who is the mind behind the source. You know, Maze is the mind behind the source. Dave Maze was the source, essentially, at the time. And Benzino tried to bully him and extort him, and there were allegations. And then, obviously, with Ja, there were allegations as well.
He raise his voice up at me, cause it annoys him to see that I ain't scared. You ain't no motherfucking bully. I ain't bowing to no motherfucking bully. I won't allow it, ain't gon' cower to no bully. I'll be damned if I don't stand up to a bully. Fight like a man and throw my hands up to a bully. And I know it must be fucking with you emotionally.
Really clever there. You hear how the bully gets carried out, and it matches the flow in the rhythmic pattern of the strings. And then also behind that, there was another melody. Dun, 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 dun. He matches the rhythm to the different points of instrumentation that are happening in that hook. And we talk about hooks, you know, hell, even I trash hooks sometimes on diss tracks, but this is definitely one of those hooks that sticks with you. And it gets the message across, and it gets the point across that he's wanting to say. Benzino's a motherfucking bully, but I'm not backing down. Like, I'm not Maze. I'm not these other people that you have distorted, that you have tried to bully throughout your time. This is not happening here. And you are about to get a can of what you've been trying to give out.
Now I'm not trying to make no more enemies no more, unfortunately. There's so many other motherfuckers that just are. They just keep hounding at me now that I'm down with 50. Suddenly now I got beef with this faggot job. But his ass is such a puppet. Herb could shove his whole hand up it and just make him say what he wants him to say. But Shook has Herb on a string, and Herb's so nervous that he says anything to this man to keep him at bay.
One of the few times I've heard Eminem mention Shook. I mean, he's even got bars and lines where he's like, I never even mentioned it because Dre told me to stay out of that beef. You know, Suge Knight fell out with Dre. Obviously, Suge Knight used to manage Pac. There's a lot of questions relating to how Suge Knight also carries his business, the way he does things. There's a story we talked about and broke down where he hung Vanilla Ice over a balcony and made Vanilla Ice sign over his royalties to him. You know, Suge Knight, he's a criminal, right? So Eminem mentioning Suge, I mean, I remember when I heard this, I'm like, oh, he finally mentioned him. But this is a different perspective this time, because what M is doing is he's trying to discredit Ja Rule, and he's showing that Ja Rule is just pulled on the puppet strings of a supposed gangster in Irv Gotti. But Irv Gotti also is being pulled by the ultimate puppet strings of Suge Knight, and so it trickles down. You know, so all of them, in a sense, are getting pulled and played on. But there's also another sense in allegations against Ja that DMX, in that diss that we covered against Ja Rule, when DMX fell out with Ja Rule, when DMX, you know, was supposed to be cool with Ja Rule, when, you know, they were supposed to be forming a super group together, and they fell out ultimately. But DMX saying that Ja Rule, he leans a different way. You know, he swings to a different side of the fence. He likes to get with men, and obviously in the older days of battle rapping, you know, calling someone the F word, questioning their sexuality, that was a big thing at the time, taking away from your manliness as it was portrayed then. So what's M doing? He's playing off of that Ja's probably enjoying, having someone have his hand up his ass and pulling the strings left and right.
And Irv so nervous that he says anything to this man to keep him at bay. So now Ja thinks that he's so tough and Murder Inc.'s the big bad wolf, and they gon' huff and puff and blow our label down. But
talk about vocal mixing on this too. What's really dope is you hear Eminem, and we talk about layers. So he's got his main track, and I also hear underneath, he's got like a very high track, right? Like higher range. He's really going up in it, and that's stacked. And then he's got like a lower track underneath. And this whole performance, basically, he had to re-record this and do it all the way through. Like normally you might punch in a layer and you might do it for a couple bars and a couple lines. No, this whole song and all these verses are measured by this just vocal stacking to give it such fullness and such depth, but also it's got a range to it. It's got a weird range because you hear M, but all of a sudden you also hear like high M and low M stacked on top. And then obviously that high M voice comes into play when he's singing Bully and when he's giving us the hook.
Buildings made out of bricks, so you ain't taking out shit. And dog, you just did a song with Bobby Brown.
A nice play on the big bad wolf. And obviously he huffed and puffed and he blew down the little pig's house that I read to my little girls with straw, the little pig's house with hay. But what could he not blow down? The one that was built out of bricks. Eminem, Shady, Aftermath, their buildings are made out of bricks. Little wordplay on a children's story right there, and he's trying to troll Ja Rule in that.
So you ain't taking out shit, and dog, you just did a song with Bobby Brown.
Wow, I forgot about that. No, you're getting bored. Chilling with him. I know you miss my thuggin', my loving, thug loving. Oh God, what the fuck was that? This is what happens when you record and you have no one else in the room with you. You just start doing weird ass things. Come on, Knox, get your life together. Anyways, Bobby Brown, Ja Rule, thug loving. Come on.
So now you try to pull the race card and it backfires in your face hard. Cause you know we don't play that black and white shit. Plus the stylist you fucked when you was ecstasy. Was just a man who's dressed up as a white bitch. You ain't
Right, here we go. You tried to pull the race card. Remember what we talked about with Game? Game playing the race card against Eminem. Surprise, surprise. Has he ever had to deal with this before? Yeah, he's dealt with it a shit ton in his past. The race card. The hood doesn't listen to Eminem. The streets don't listen to Eminem. You don't do anything for the culture. You would give anything to be black. These are not brand new disses. I love the people that come on that are commenting like, oh man, Game flamed Eminem. Game was so fire. What? All Game did was just recycle the same shit that he said. Has anybody watched 8 Mile? Come on, pay attention, meathead. We're doing the same shit all over again. You want to see how Eminem deals with the race card being played? Here he is. He's taking it and he's flipping it right back on Ja Rule.
your face hard, cause you know we don't play that black and white shit. Plus the stylist you fucked.
And then remember the allegations that I talked about of Ja Rule liking to get with men? Well, his stylist was gay, and there's been allegations that he got with his stylist. Also, the allegations that Ja Rule was on too much X. So again, Eminem throwing shade into Ja Rule's character, saying that he's only doing these things because he's hyped up from the drugs, only doing these things because Irv Gotti's telling him he's such a gangster, he's a big bad man, he can't even stand on his own too.
You was ecstasied up, was just a man who's dressed up as a white bitch. You ain't no motherfucking bully.
You see how he flips a race card there? You know, you're trolling me for being white, but then you're sitting here having sexual fantasies with a dude dressed up as a white bitch. See how M takes that and flips it back on Ja?
9 pounds from the motherfucking bully. I won't allow it, ain't gon' cower to the bully. I'll be damned if I don't stand up to a bully. Fight like a man and throw my hands up to a bully. You must be taking too much. Now what bothers me the most about hip-hop is we so close to picking up where we left off with Big and Pop. We just lost Jam, Jade, Big L got blasted away. Plus we lost Bug, Snake Tongue, and Freaky Ty. It's like a never-ending cycle that just seems to come full circle. Everybody's gotta be so fucking hard. And I'm not excluding myself, cause I've been stupid as well. I've been known to lose it when someone says something smart.
I mean, that's it. And this third verse here kind of reminds me of Toy Soldier, when Eminem starts to like step back, because there's the emotional knee-jerk reaction where you're like, fuck you, you dissing me, I'm gonna fucking diss you back. And then there's where he steps back and goes, if this keeps escalating, where is this gonna turn out to? And yet again, Eminem, even on a diss, dissing someone else, paying homage to ones who have been lost. Rest in peace to some great names that he mentioned on there. Man, I highly recommend any of those artists if you want to go check out some classic. Big L, someone who definitely doesn't get his flowers enough. But Eminem still paying homage, still reflecting. And this to me is a little bit more of a mature M that we find in Toy Soldiers, that we find later on in things. But he definitely, like, you know, he's kind of a walking contradiction in a sense, because there's like the mature side that's like, man, I don't want this to escalate too far. And then there's the other side when he's like, fuck it, my pride's on the line. My level as an MC's on the line. Yeah, I'm going to go in. And he can be childish. He can be immature. I mean, we all have, you know, we're all complex, aren't we? We're not like one side or the other. You know, we all have many different layers and many different sides to us. Eminem showing different sides even on this diss track right here, but speaking some very wise and very thoughtful words towards the end of this.
I've been stupid as well.
And speaking on that, I do hope that whatever happens with Game, however Eminem responds, obviously you never ever want to see it escalate further. That's why I always celebrate the MGK Eminem diss, because that didn't end in violence. That was one diss, one punch, one punch. That's it. We move on and we progress from there.
I've been known to lose it when someone says something smart. But as we grow as men, we learn to let shit go. But then again, there's only so much bullshit we can really stand. We all got reps to uphold. When someone steps on our toes, it's no exception. It goes for every man. But if Earth really gave a fuck about Ja like he claims he does, wake him up and make his boy get off them drugs. But he just keeps feeding him pills. So if that E doesn't kill him, someone from G-Unit will. And I ain't buzzed.
Key line right there. You know, this is not necessarily a threat. This is them going, you know, this is just the reality of the situation. You got G-Unit, you got 50 who's been shot, you got Lloyd who's been shot. I mean, you got Yayo who's in prison. You got people who know that street life. You know, you got people who are not just talking the talk. They will walk the walk if it comes down to it at the end of the day. And Eminem saying, you know, I'm not buzzed. Like, I'm just sober speaking on this. I'm not saying these things because I'm all like having that false courage because I got drugs that I'm on like Ja. No, I'm just trying to give you the reality of it.
If that E doesn't kill him, someone from G-Unit will. And I ain't buzzed. Dog, I'm talking to you straight. If the situation escalates any worse, we're gonna lose another soldier to this game. And if I get killed for this rap, I got $1 million in cash that says I will get you back in Hailie's name. You ain't no motherfucking.
There's Hailie. And listen, Game mentioned Hailie. MGK mentioned Hailie. Ja Rule mentioned Hailie. Eminem went and got the Oscar, and him and Hailie shoved it up Ja Rule's ass. You know, Eminem is no stranger to having his daughter brought into it and it being able to flip that as well. I'm sure we will get a flip on that if M does decide to respond to Game. And in this sense, M's got a greater flip on it. I will get you back in Hailie's name. I'll make sure that my legacy lives on through Hailie, but also you won't have a legacy after this. And I'll put a bounty so big out on there that, you know, there will be repercussions to any actions you try to pursue.
9 pounds on the motherfucking. I won't allow it, ain't gon' cower to no. I'll be damned if I don't stand up to her. Fight like a man and throw my hands up to her. Irvin, get your boy up off that.
And he speaks directly to Irv Gotti there.
Get at me, dog. Holler.
Get at me, dog. You know who else had a track? Get at me, dog. DMX. Rest in peace.
Get at me, dog. Holler.
I think from an MC's perspective, in a diss track, right, you get diss. And the knee-jerk reaction is you're going to obviously respond back. You're going to fire back, but you're going to get into the bag that you know. You know, you don't necessarily want to take risks in a diss and like try something brand new and completely new because it could backfire in your face. AKA, look at what happened with Game. So you have to appreciate the courage that it takes and the balls that it takes for Eminem to drop a track like Bully in the middle of a massive diss war and in the middle of a bunch of controversy because he knows that this is going to get put under the microscope. So, you know, it's easy to fall back into the bag of what's natural to you. So you have to appreciate the angle with which Eminem took with this, the creativity. And I think that's one of the things that's understated about Eminem is his creativity. You know, he's very likable. He's got a lot of personality on his tracks. He's very good at like mimicking people, initiating dialogue and conversation. He's a very good storyteller as well. So because of all those talents and skills, he's able to get in some different bags when he attacks disses, you know, that help to win him public favor, that help him to win the narrative of diss wars. In this case, we all know what happened to Benzino. I mean, he's over in Shaq's toilet right next to Ja Rule, handing Shaq the toilet paper every time Shaq has to take a shit. He thinks about them, which is sweet in a way. Anyways, Eminem, You are Knoxville certified. What's up, guys? Like today's video. As always, be sure to smash the like button. Listen, if you're here at the end, obviously enjoying the content, do me a huge favor, guys. Please subscribe, notifications on. It really does go a long way. It supports the channel directly. I love you. Stay safe, stay positive. I'll catch you again. I'm out.